Been walking through the Navy Exchange and wonder why all the Naval Pride and Heritage gear is horrifically ugly and you wouldn't actually wear it. Have you ever wanted some really cool gear and you just don't know where to go? Well, I got you, fam. Go to dgutspodcast.com immediately. Get yourself some Naval Pride and Heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. We're working on new designs all the time, open to ideas. We're trying to create a brand that lets you display that pride, but doesn't make you cringe. Also, if you're willing to and you're able to, please go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast, pick one of the 5 tiers, and become a patron today. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Don't Give Up the Ship Podcast. This is episode 121. And today I am talking to Jessie Barnes, who, if you don't know already from all those reels that I've been pumping onto the interwebs, she is a submarine chief. She's an ITSC, newly minted this last year's results. So kind of almost wrapping up her first year wearing anchors to work. And she's a diver qualified, just badass human being. I'm a big fan of hers. She's been on the Only on the Midwatch podcast, which if you haven't checked that out, go check out Only on the Midwatch. Great podcast, great dude. That was last week's episode. And Jessie's somebody I've wanted to have on for a long time. I've kind of like tangentially known her for a while, like through people and because of other people and podcast people and all the things. Like I've listened to her on a bunch of podcasts, which is why you need to go check out Only on the Midwatch. But she's been somebody I've had it in my mind, and then my mind is a blender of sticky notes. Like it's just like all these things that I need to do or want to do, and then I forget. I'm trying to get better about it, working on my workflow. I'm making like checklists and SOPs, and I got my book, so I'm like making lists and stuff. But yeah, I'm trying to be a better adult. But she's one of the ones that kind of slipped through for a while, and when Ellison had her on recently, I listened to it. I'm like, okay, I got to get her on and talk to her. We went through like her experience, not just on submarines, but kind of in her first year as a chief, what the female experience was like on a submarine, her having been around a little bit longer. She did like a full enlistment as a surface IT, but albeit on shore duty on a watch floor, and then rolled into submarines. So she's an instructor now at submarine school. Just awesome. I'm a big fan. And again, I've heard her on so many podcasts. Like I feel like she's one of the people that I like to listen to talk about the experience. And so I thought it would be really cool to get her on, talk about all the things. And we had a great time chopping it up. So I hope you all enjoy this. Check it out. And we're off. Yeah. So welcome, finally. Like, see, look at me. Like I just lectured you on, and I just did it. Anyway, so like, the drill, like, so, we'll start with just like a background bio, as much detail as you want to provide, and then we'll go from there. Mm-hmm. So whenever you're ready, hear me.
Is that it? All right.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's it. It's easy, right? It's super simple.
Are you recording already? Like, is this part of the show?
Yeah. Did it not tell you that I was recording? I thought it counted down.
No, it's.
Did it not?
Oh my God, I'm acting like I'm
God,
not.
you've been on like 97 podcasts. Welcome to.
Absolutely not. No, oh my God, yeah. Sorry. It's Sunday. It's a rest day, or it's supposed to be a rest day.
You lifted heavy things.
Here we go.
Then,
yeah, I did.
Let's
I'm sure we'll talk about that later, so I can brag about my numbers. Anyways, hey, for those of you that haven't heard me on Test Depth, I'm Jessie Barnes. I'm a chief in the Navy. More specifically, I'm an ITS. Information Systems Technician, Submarines, Chief Petty Officer, recent chief here. So,
old salty dogs like me call them boots. I gotta remember to look. My camera's over here. I keep looking at the screen. It's fine.
So boots, yeah, that's a pretty PG term. I like that.
I'm
a boot chief. So, hoo-yah. So I'll say hoo-yah a lot. How about that?
It's all good. I say hoo-yah all the time still.
Anyways, I wasn't always a submariner. I enlisted in the Navy in 2014 as a surface IT. After my recruiter had convinced me that corpsmen don't make and it was a matter of like, hey, future Sailor Barnes, like, are you looking to make like six figures when you get out of the Navy, or are you looking to be like a nurse that's like cleaning teeth or like helping clean teeth? So I was like, yeah, six figures sounds cool. So, you know, I signed that 6-year contract, went to a school in Pensacola, Florida, spent a hefty almost year there of training, just like any other IT pipeline. ITS is pretty thorough too. So Pensacola was like awesome. I really enjoyed my time there. Then I got my orders to, which is super unique, this part. My first command out of A and C school was a shore command, believe it or not. Like, yeah, half the class went to a boat and half the class went to shore duty. So I wasn't.
I feel like
upset,
that's a rate where
part of me,
it would happen.
Yeah.
Like,
like I said, I wasn't upset. Part of me was like, damn, I just want to go to a boat and like, you know, get my my naval experience in. But I'll be honest, the shore command like really set me up for success in terms of making second class, getting a bunch of like schools and certifications for like IT stuff, getting great evals. So the command I went to was in Suffolk, Virginia. It was called Navy Cyber Defense Operations Command. You know, it's a mouthful, but it was essentially like a watch floor.
Sounds important.
It is important. So, you know, like, you know, when, you know, Seaman Timmy plugs his iPod into the classified naval network system, we get the notification and then, you know, we act upon that. So then it's happened.
We had a nav one time that he kept plugging the wrong colored cord. And I'm talking like not red and green confusion, red and yellow and green confusion. Like just
no.
Holy, and he did it like half a dozen times. It was so funny. Like, really? Again? Like, we've said the word spillage more times on that boat than like I've ever heard it in my life. Yeah, and he was like the security officer and everything. Yeah, like,
exactly.
Come on, bro. Like,
damn, it happens. Yeah, so you know that's how NCDOC is the you know, the people that get that report. So you know, the nav on the boat like, you know, causes a spillage, like you notify NCDOC. Yeah. So I was a help desk technician, so I was the geek squad. For my command. So someone would be like, hey, my computer like isn't turning on, it's just a black screen, and I'd answer the phone and be like,
is it plugged in?
I'll be right down, let me take it. Yeah, is it plugged in? Like, have you restarted it yet? So so yeah, it was Geek Squad. And I loved it though. I truly love being in IT. And we could get into the, you know, the rate merger, which I'm sure you've heard of, and all the politics.
Some of it, because Chief Bob was a radioman, and then he's lamented the rating merger plan. I still don't get it, but like, I don't think anyone does. Like, from what I understand, like, I don't think the people. I don't think the enlisted community manager gets it. But
some people benefited from it. Some people, you know, got out of the Navy because of it. So but yeah, not to get off my bio here, but in 2017, that's when the second wave of you know, women in submarines nav admin came out. They're like, you know, hey, we're looking for motivated women who, you know, want to, you know, continue their career, you know, in a very trying environment. So there was myself and 2 other females on my command that were like, yeah, like, you know, we think we can do this. So we submitted our packages. A few months goes by. I forgot I had, you know, submitted my package to go on a submarine. So the nav admin came out. I'm laying in bed one night, and the other female that I put my package in with texts me. She's like, "Hey," she's like, "We got picked up for submarines." Yeah, and I was like,
"Oh, I did that."
Oh, damn. Yeah, I said bad words. I was like, "Oh." So I was like, you know, damn, I forgot I did that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, yeah, I guess I'm going on a submarine.
I'm surprised, like, it was on a whim, because like when I was at they started it when I was an A school instructor, and so I used to go into classrooms and kind of brief each class on the first day or whatever when I was SEL, and I try to like recruit people, I'd be like, hey, like try to be telling them, because for some reason our student population was usually like 60-40 in favor of women. Like,
Yep.
so I would go into the classroom. Yeah, it was weird. Not all the time, but like it seemed like most of the time we had a lot of female students. We had a lot of female staff members too.
That's great. That makes me happy.
Yeah, no, I remember like it was notable to me. I was like, cause I didn't expect it. I was kind of surprised. I was like, holy crap. But, so I'd go into the classrooms and I'd be like pitching Submarines to them, like trying to get them to like sign up. And it was like every other class it was 36 students. So like probably every other class I'd get like one girl that was interested. And I was just like, really? And everybody, yeah, like all of the female students were just like, nah, you can keep that. I don't want nothing to do with that. And I was just like, some of the dudes would ask a lot of questions, but it was usually guys that were already like en route to BES, you know? So it was just like, they would have a ton of questions, but like trying to get, I was surprised at how many female students were like resistant to it. And I was just like, really? Like, this is like the cool kid stuff, man. Like, this is, I don't know. Obviously I'm biased, but.
Right. Yeah. I agree. It's, for me personally, submarines were not something I thought about. Like, remember your Blue Jackets manual? I don't know if you've seen the new edition.
I don't think I've,
so in the new one, when I went through boot camp, there was like, pictures of like certain classes of ships and submarines and, planes, helicopters. And I remember like having to label them, and I'm like, oh, it's like a Los Angeles class submarine. There's a Virginia class. But like, in boot camp, I never thought that I would be like potentially going on a submarine someday. It was just something that you never, and as a civilian, especially, you don't think about submarines, like unless you see one or like two, watch a movie or like know somebody that's like in the submarine force. So it's not something that like you think about because you don't see them. Like it's the silent service,
Right.
So, it wasn't like there's some women in the Navy who are now in the submarine force who are like, my dad was a submariner and I've always wanted to be on a submarine, and or like they got to do a Tiger cruise and like, ever since that day, like they wanted to serve on a submarine. For me, like there was no personal experience with me being on a submarine. My dad was an HT back in the 80s, but he operated the cranes for the dry docks that the submarines would pull into, and like, pull their props off and stuff. And, he'd see them pull in all fucked up. So, that's really the only like tie I have to submarines. And then, so like once we were picked up, my command found out and everybody was like, congratulating us. There was a few submariners that were disqualified at my command who were so passionate about submarines, and they were like my introduction to like submariners.
Okay. And
when I tell you that they were the most weird,
I
was like, this is a bubblehead, like this is a submariner, and like this guy,
that's funny.
This one chief, God bless him, but he would like get so excited about talking about submarines. He would like go like this and like clasp his hands together and just like shake when he would like talk to me about like qualifying and getting your fish and the food and the missions, and he was
probably
just so,
romanticizing it a a little bit in his head. He probably forgot all the bad stuff.
Yeah, right. Well, and he missed
data
it because he
dumped
was
all the shitty
parts.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see someone so like passionate about the submarine force. So like I got to tour like a bunch of different subs in Portsmouth and Norfolk, like the John Warner, the Newport News, the Rhode Island. So I got a good feel for what I was getting myself into before I went to sub school. So I got to sub school in November of 2017. I was already in IT, so I didn't have to go through the whole pipeline again. I just had to go through Subland, like learn the submarine network, which was like a 2-month course. And then I went to the boat. So reported to the boat in December of 2017, the Florida Blue.
So you just did that straight to shore duty and then got selected to submarines from there. So you've never done like Hayes Gray.
Yeah.
It was just, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So like everyone, and that's like a misunderstanding that, some people have with me. Like I'm not I wasn't a surface sailor. You know what I mean? I was just a shore sailor.
Just
like a good deal.
It took you like 3 years longer to get to a submarine than everyone else.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yep. So, but like I said, that first command like really set me up for success.
Yeah.
training and getting to, it was funny because I went to sub schools like a fleet returnee. So I didn't have to stand
Yeah,
duty,
but
like,
yeah,
and I
but
had
not
never.
really.
So my first like real armed watch was on the
That's
boat.
funny.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and now I did 4 deployments on the Florida Blue. Obviously, like we were forward deployed. We pulled into.
And where do the Kings Bay GNs go? You don't go to
like
Guam, right? Like,
no, that's the West Coast.
right?
GNs.
Yeah. Well, when you say
I
forward deployed,
would love to
do
go
you
to
mean
Guam.
like do you guys leave Kings
Suda
Bay like
Bay.
a boot?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So it's forward deployed out of like Suda Bay or like Diego Garcia. It was
Okay.
like a 50-50 when I was on the boat. So we'd like fly out to either Diego Garcia or Suda Bay.
Okay. Gotcha.
And meet the boat and then turn over with the crew. I know UBN sailors don't really get to experience.
Yeah, that sounds like such a nightmare. Like I used to talk to,
I
had buddies on Ohio and Michigan that I would talk to about it, and there was like times where they would turn over in Hawaii too or something, and I'm just like, or not Hawaii. No, they would turn over in Guam. I'm thinking about BNs again,
Guam,
but
yeah.
Yeah, like it was, I don't know, like I would hear them talk about like trying to do everything out of Guam, and I'm just like, God, that would be such a nightmare.
And yeah, I mean, because you have to fly with all your crap, right? Like all of your crews, right? Because the split crew, all of your paperwork, all of your like binders and programs, and then all your like stuff, like your personal stuff. Yep. So the only advantage that I had personally. Go ahead.
So no, I was just gonna say trying to get everything. Like if I had to if I got there and then I subsequently needed something that I didn't have, trying to get it on Guam or in the DR, like Jesus Christ, it would be so much more painful. And even just getting equipment fixed or replaced, I imagine would be a nightmare
absolutely.
too. Like,
yeah, it was a pain sometimes getting like support, and a lot of time. The worst part about like a crew turnover, right, is so like I was blue crew, so we're going to relieve the gold crew, right, and we get to the boat. It's like roughly a 3-day turnover, and they just turn over to an absolute
dumpster fire
show
every time.
Dumpster fire
every time.
Yep, and you're like, and you're like, what have you guys been doing for the last 6 months? Like, none of this is this has been broken since we've had the boat. So it's
every time we would take the boat, our records would be so far behind and so effed up that I would tell my guys, I'm like, all right, brace yourselves. We're gonna eat a poop sandwich. Like it's gonna happen. Like that's just, and if we know that going in, like if we just are like, we know we're gonna have to fix their records. We know we're gonna have to like submit corrected returns and fix equipment and do all the, like we already know it's a dumpster fire. So don't freak out when it's a dumpster fire. And then if it's not as much of a dumpster fire, then it's like we win. Like, and we're all pleasantly surprised that we don't have to like fix everything and remediate all this crap. Like it was always a dumpster fire. So yeah, like I 100% understand that.
Yeah. So that part was stressful, especially if you're part of more than one division. Just because you've got so much to do in like a 3-day span. But as I was saying, like once you like turn over, like the best part was hearing like, gold crew relieve the blue crew. And then you're like, well, all right, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm leaving the boat. I'm going to spend my 3 to 5 days in Diego Garcia, just like chilling. Yeah. And I'm going to, go back home and like reset. So that was a nice part. It was like a little vacation. Depending on where we went, if we got the chance. So, Suda Bay was awesome. Diego Garcia, more than like a week or two, you're getting like island fever. I know it's smaller than Guam, but it's so tropical, and if you like the beach and warm weather, then it's for you. So
I would always tell people Guam was like Hawaii but smaller with less to do. So like it's like Diego Garcia's like Guam but smaller with less to do. I've never been to Diego Garcia, but like that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Yep. But I've heard great things about Guam in terms of
it's awesome.
Like, diving. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like if you're a diver, it's paradise from what I understand, but I'm not. that.
Or a
So like, but with
fisherman?
all
Yeah. Yeah.
World War II, like shipwrecks
Oh my
and just
God. Yeah.
craziness. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gotta be
For
wild.
sure. Yep.
So tell me about the journey on the Florida, like cause I've always been curious, like, we were talked to a bunch like about women coming on submarines, and then
Mm-hmm.
when the Wyoming stuff happened and all this other crap, like
Mm-hmm.
and then when we had female JOs when I got there, so it was already normal to the crew
Mm-hmm.
by the time I
Yeah.
got to Louisiana. But then uh we took the female enlisted from Ohio underway for that last patrol that we did.
Mm-hmm.
We got all these briefs and all this, like, this is how you got to behave, and this is the don't do this and and it's like once they got there and we were underway, it was just like they're just people, like they're just submariners, like whatever. But I'm curious what the journey was like for you, especially being like, if you're in the second wave, it was probably pretty new for the crew of the Florida. So like, what was
Mm-hmm.
it like, just not just like acclimating to submarines, but like, I guess I've always been curious, like, do you think your journey as a submariner was wildly different from like a dude that shows up to a submarine, or was it just like as soon as the new shiny new toy feeling
Mm-hmm.
wore off, you were just a member of the boat
Yeah.
doing the damn thing? And like,
The
what was
shiny new
that?
toy.
What was that? What was that first like year like?
Yeah, I like the way you worded that question because like everyone's just super bland and like, what was it like being a woman on a submarine?
Right.
Um, but yeah, I there's a lot of you have a lot of good questions and that like,
Yeah, sorry. I
um
do that. I ask like
no,
17
no,
questions and it's like one question, but not. Yeah, sorry.
no, you're fine. So hopefully I hit it all, but it there's so many answers to this question, but something that
Yeah.
popped into my head as you were asking me that, um, after I had been on board for, I was on board for a while, and my division
Hmm.
was like, yeah, we were Facebook stalking you to see like, if you were
Yeah.
decent looking, and
Yeah.
so to have a bunch of my like
Yeah.
coworkers, guys in my division were like, yeah, we're just trying to tell if you were hot or ugly. And I was like, like you guys are messed up. Like,
I have a
so
story
I was
about,
like, I get
I,
it.
I was walking so I was in Washington, right? And so I'm walking across base, like we would walk between like the OCAB building and like the necks. You have to like cut through the barracks. There's all these paths running through the barracks or whatever. And so I was walking by one of like the path. It was like a sidewalk by the parking lot where all the enlisted people would park their cars and stuff. And there's like a smoke gazebo thing, like a smoke pit.
Mhm.
And so I'm just walking through there one day. I forget why. I was going somewhere. And I walk by and I see like 70% of my division all huddled around one guy holding their phone, like looking at this phone. And like you could tell they're up to like something, and they're like giggling and stuff. And I walk up and they didn't realize I was there. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they all just like looked up like and tried to hide the phone. I'm like, nothing. And I was like, nah, for real. What are you guys looking at? What are you doing? And they're just like, we're looking at the new Chops Facebook account, because we had a
Oh,
female supply
yeah,
officer, and so
yeah.
she was the one we had at the time, was that she was the second one, and she was more senior, but we were getting like a brand new baby chop from
Mhm.
supply corps school. It was the first time we were going to get an ensign. It was towards probably the last like year I was on board.
Okay.
And I knew I was getting a brand new baby chop. I just didn't know anything about her. And so I was like, let me see. And they show it to me, and she looks like a high school cheerleader. And I'm just like, oh my
Oh
God. And like, she turned out to be incredible. Like, she was
God. Yeah.
awesome. Really great at her job, really hyper aware of that perception, and
Mhm.
like never
Mhm.
putting herself in a bad spot. And so it was great.
Mhm.
It ended up being great, but at the time I didn't know her, so I was super worried. And they were all stalking her to see it. She's like, oh, look at it, this is the new chop. And I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
my God, like, this is gonna
I
be a
mean, like
dumpster fire. But it wasn't at
you
all.
have to think.
So
You have to think with everybody on social media, and
yeah.
it's so much
Mhm.
access to everything. Like, who
Yeah.
isn't looking each other up? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
So
didn't even think to do
I
it back
wasn't
that, like, my wife
right.
is like, she's like the best social media stalker on the planet. Like, if you need to find something out about somebody,
Mhm.
like, she's your person. But
She'll find out
yeah,
who
like,
your second cousin's
yeah,
mother-in-law is.
she'll find like
Mhm.
anyone and any info, like just weird information, and she's a ninja. But Yeah, I didn't even think to do it, and they were all gathered around this phone, and I'm just like, oh god, I didn't need this information. I would have rather she just checked in and I found out then, but whatever.
Right, right.
Yeah,
I mean, and like I wasn't offended or anything, but like
yeah,
I laughed, and
yeah,
those guys that told me that are some of my like best friends now, and
yeah,
we have a bunch of great memories from the boat that I'm sure any other submariner can agree to, that
yeah,
you know
yeah,
those memories you have, like, just
yeah.
you don't care. So, but moving on with that question, I wasn't a first accession sailor for one, right? So I was
Hmm.
a quote unquote fleet returnee, even though I wasn't like
Yeah,
a Hayes Gray sailor.
right.
I had experience in the Navy. I had
Hmm.
I knew how the Navy operated. So
You were a
it wasn't
second
new
class
to
at the
me.
time, right? When you
Yeah, when
showed
I
up.
reported.
Okay,
Yep,
so you're
yep,
already, yeah,
yep.
you've not
Yeah,
exactly
with
new to
like
the
three
game. Yeah.
years in. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I had reported there with one of the females. So one of the three females that had got selected. One of them went to OCS instead,
Okay.
and then the other one went to the Florida Gold. So
Hmm.
we kind of reported at the same time. We were both ITs, so we reported at the same time.
Hmm.
So it's kind of nice to have someone there, like going through the process with me.
Yeah.
So that made it a little easier as well. The boat was in Kings Bay, and I had been in touch with a few of the females that were there already,
Hmm.
that I had met up at sub school actually.
Okay.
So I had some insight on, like,
Like what to expect,
where, yeah, what to
kind of.
expect. Like, nobody told me about. I already knew that submariners were their own breed, right?
Hmm.
I already knew that, based on that, that one chief at my last command that was like really
Yeah,
excited to
yeah,
talk about
yeah,
submarines. So I was like, all
yeah.
right, I have my idea of
Yeah.
what a submariner is like. And then after watching like Down Periscope, I'm just like, oh my God. So, like that was my introduction.
I mean, that's a pretty
So
good introduction, to be honest. Like, I always tell
yeah.
people,
Oh
they're like, what's it
yeah.
like? I'm like, it's like 90% down Periscope, 10% Hunt for Red
Yes,
October.
absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely. I should tell Riot to incorporate that into the best curriculum. Like
yeah,
the students
you
have to
should.
watch Down Periscope.
90%. That should be part of Indoc.
Yeah.
Like, watch down Periscope.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Um, so yeah, and like, so that was part of it, right? Being like a fleet returnee. Another
mhm,
part was I, and I've talked about this on Ellison's podcast before too. Like,
mhm,
I'm a tomboy. I grew up
mhm,
like, before I joined the Navy, I was doing construction. Working with my dad and my brother.
mhm.
So, I grew up riding dirt bikes and like, hunting, and like I'm able to relate to
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
more,
Okay.
um, than women sometimes, because of my hobbies and what I do.
Yeah,
Um, so it's like it's just easier for me to get along with dudes sometimes.
yeah,
So that transition, was there wasn't a lot of flaws with me being in a boys' world. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because I could shoot the shit with like the
yeah.
Cobb about the Patriots.
Yeah, yeah. And you
Um,
actually knew what you were talking about and like could keep up and all that.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
You'd
like
probably be
when
better
people
at it than I
realize.
am. Like I was raised by women and so like and I mean I definitely I can keep up most of the time. It's not like I was like I
Yeah,
was raised with three brothers and like it's not like I didn't grow up around dudes, but
right.
um like I would say I was raised around and amongst a lot of women. So it was just
Hmm.
like I've always gravitated more towards like female friends for that
Right.
reason. So that's interesting.
I don't know. It felt, I didn't feel out of place either, and I think
Mm,
there are some women, like, still to this day, obviously, and
yeah.
I don't think women will ever be 100%, as comfortable as I was checking into the boat. I'm
Hmm.
sure there's some women that check in, and BNs were recently integrated, and now
Yeah.
the PCU New Jersey was the first Virginia. So um, I'm not saying that everyone is necessarily going to be like me and be comfortable, or they're not
Yeah.
going to be like me and be a little scared, and timid. But it's just it's one of those things that it's going to take some time
Yeah.
for not only the woman to get used to, but or the men to get used to, but also like the woman.
Yeah. I think
Um,
it'll, well, and I wonder what you think, but I kind of thought as we got like, as I was leaving my last boat, we got a female department head for the first time. And like, I think
mhm.
recently we had the first female XO, if I remember seeing that headline
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah,
And like, I know I met the who became the first female cobb.
yep.
I met
Angie.
her at my
Yeah,
at the last shore duty I was at before she went to a boat. But like, so like when those things start to become more normal, where you see female cobs and female like XOs or female COs,
yeah,
like do you I in my head that'll kind of help with the stabilization of the culture so that it's not as weird when, you know what I mean, like it makes
absolutely. Yeah,
the
it'll.
newness wear off or whatever, where it's
Hmm.
like the barriers that did exist probably won't exist so much
Yeah,
anymore once you start to see that
yeah.
more
I think in a
commonly.
few years it'll. Yeah, I think in a few years it'll
Yeah.
get to that point where like, oh, like enlisted or officers were integrated in
Hmm.
2011, 2012.
Right.
Now enlisted females have been integrated since 2016. It's almost been like in a few years it'll be 10 years, like
Yeah.
a whole decade that, we've had lessons learned and we've overcome all
Hmm.
these, instances and, the Wyoming, I'm sure you heard about the Florida Gold,
Yeah.
the quote unquote, rape list. Um,
Hmm.
and it's going to get to a point where if something happens, God forbid, like it's not going to be as talked about because I don't think it'll happen anymore. Like those, like the Wyoming,
On that scale,
the
yeah, yeah.
yeah, on that
Of
scale, it's not
of
going to
that
happen
severity,
anymore.
kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna
because
be.
the if we start integrating now, right, and
Mm,
so if you think about BESS, and we have female sailors that are integrated into every BESS class, they're
mm,
already, you know, promoting the integration aspect at such a young age in their career
right.
that when they see females again, like it won't get to that point. If you think about the Wyoming and the Florida Gold rape list, like those guys had never worked with females before.
Mm,
Whereas now you're going to start getting into the stages where like these guys that are on the boats have worked with females at some point.
yeah.
So
And I wonder, I've often wondered when I heard like about the Wyoming stuff, and I heard about that the
mhm.
rapeless stuff, and it was like often wondered like how much of that is just like you know how there's, and I'm sure you've heard people talk this way, you know how there's like this weird attempt to cling on to like old school submarining that, and like they don't even know what they're talking about because they weren't there when it happened, but you'll get guys that are on like their first boat, they're like, back in the day they used to tack on fish and they used to do, nubs weren't allowed to watch movies and stuff, and it's like,
Mhm.
bro, you weren't even here when that was real, so like what are you
Yep.
talking about? But they
Yep.
for some reason identify with this like cooler, like harsher version of submarining. And I experienced some of that like back in the early
Shout out to you, A
2000s
gang.
when,
Dude, it's always the A
yeah,
gangers.
yeah, it's always egging, isn't it? I love them to
Yeah.
death, but come on, bro, like you weren't
Yeah.
even there, you're a baby, like
Yeah.
stop, like, and I used to troll the crap out of them when they would bring it up. It's like, well, okay, explain to me what it was like, guy that wasn't there, like ask me
Yeah.
how I know, like, because I was there and you're
Like
12, so shut up.
we
But
used to
like
take them back down
the
to by the diesel and beat the shit out of them,
yeah,
and
bulkhead. We'll
like
take him to the
you didn't.
fan room. Bulkhead to bulkhead counseling. Like, shut up, dude. Like, you never did that. Like, you're just regurgitating the stories you were told by someone else that probably wasn't even there,
Yeah.
who's regurgitating stories from somebody that was actually there. So, like, calm down.
Mm-hmm.
But, like,
Yeah.
I wonder how much of it is that culture. Cause, like, I've talked about on the podcast before, like by today's standards, and I'm not, this isn't an attempt to like downplay the severity or anything, because I wasn't happy about it when it was happening, but like the culture of submarining, that like locker room mentality crap that people would, that's how like how they would justify it or write it off or whatever. Um, by today's standards, I've been sexually assaulted hundreds of times,
Mm-hmm.
hundreds of times, like
And
just
it's
because
crazy to think
that's,
about. Yeah.
yeah, that's submarining, or it was,
Yeah.
but not
Yeah.
like I've seen it change drastically. Like cause you
Yeah.
get like this time capsule snapshot of like, I remember my first boat when I was getting humped and credit card swiped and people were like like grabbing my butt and my balls all the time and stuff. And it was like normal. It was just, that's just what it was like. And I remember
Right.
I had this, like, during my first year, I had a really hard time and I almost quit and all this stuff. And then there was this decision point where I just decided that I like, and I've talked about this too. And like my dad listens to this. So I don't want him to think that I actually believed this, but it was like, I feared that it could be true, even though I don't believe, now that I'm older and wiser and more mature, I don't believe it would be the case. But
Right.
I basically decided, like, of my own accord, in my own head about it, I decided that if I quit because of what was going on, my dad would be disappointed, because he was a Vietnam vet, Navy guy. So I don't think that's true. Like, obviously, like, I mean, I could,
Right.
I feel confident saying I know it wouldn't be true, because he would understand what had happened and everything else. But he is like, there's that part of me that's like, he is like so proud of the fact that I did everything that I did and that I made Master Chief and all this stuff, like, tells all these people, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like over the moon, that I accomplished everything I did and was successful in the Navy. So it was like, at the time, I knew that. I saw my brother was in the Navy as well. So like, I remember seeing my dad look at my brother at his boot camp graduation and how proud he was, especially because my brother, Pat, God bless him, was a dumpster fire up until that point. And even after that, for a little while, like he made third class a few times and went AWOL and all this other stuff. Okay. Like, he was on bread and water once on the USS Theodore Roosevelt before they got rid of it.
Oh,
that's my brother. God love him. He was an aviation bosun's mate. He joined to do like aviation electronics, and was too busy like playing pool and just being a knucklehead when he was at A school in Pensacola, and so he failed out. And so he went out as an aviation bosun's mate, and he was great at his job. Like, he's a good dude. He just was immature and doing dumb stuff. So like, he was really great at his job, but as soon as he left the ship, he was just doing bonehead stuff. Like, his chief loved him. If he could keep him on the boat 100%, like, if he could have imprisoned him on that ship, he probably would have made chief. But anyway, back to the original thought. I just got off on a bit of a tangent there, but I guess I thought, like, when I heard that stuff, I thought to myself that it was probably more like those dum-dums were like trying to like cling to this non-existent like idea of submarining that they had in their heads, like this warped idea of what submarining was. And it was almost like, no, we got these outsiders invading this like boys club or something. Yeah, I mean, like, they were applying this warped ideology almost to females coming in. So it wasn't that, like, it was because females were coming on submarines and they were just like doing it for just that reason. It was like that stupid idea that they were clinging to, that like locker room or whatever they call it, locker room mentality type shit. But I always thought to myself, like, maybe it was more that than it was because they were just, being immature children. I don't know. I guess they're kind of linked, but
yeah, I mean, me personally, when I have this conversation with a lot of people, I don't want the guys to change like how they act necessarily. Like, I don't need to see your dicks all the time. Like, please don't like keep all this stuff in your pants. Like,
I don't either. Like, that's like, that was what my point was like, I don't want to be a part of that either. I don't want dudes touching me or humping me or doing any of that. Cause like, like, you're in sonar and somebody like pulls all their junk out of their coveralls and puts it on someone's shoulder. The bat wing. It's like, dude, come on. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, so like that kind of crap. It's like, I don't want submarining to change the good parts, but it's like, I don't even want to see that crap either. So it's like, I 100% agree. But sorry, go ahead.
But you're good for the briefing of, the intake and integration of women in submarines. It's like, like nobody should have briefed their crew to like act any different, or like, like, hey guys, you better like, you better not say these things around these females. We got to be careful. We got to tread water lightly. Like, there's for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of, women can agree with me, like we just want you guys to act the same and treat us like
Right.
a fucking sister, and treat us like
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
who is going to save your fucking life in a casualty.
Right.
Bump. I got the F word.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fine.
So
I'm
it's just,
checking them off.
and something I had a discussion with somebody the other day, and I think it was a fellow chief, and they were doing a board for like a,
Mhm.
uh, I don't know what it was, but they were doing a board. They're interviewing somebody, and they're like, "Hey, you know, what are you going to do when the first department head, or sorry, first JO female checks in on board? Like, how are you going to brief her and
Oh
treat
yeah.
her?" And it's like, you don't have to think about that.
It's not. Yeah.
You just be
Yeah.
you. That shouldn't be like an answer.
The
That shouldn't be
same thing
something
I
that's
do
like,
for a dude. Like.
yeah, right,
The
exactly.
same
And that's
thing.
like
Yeah.
that's all we want, right?
Mhm.
And so we've had an uptick in some like crazy shit at sub school in terms of the
Yeah.
dudes just being total assholes to the females, right? Like calling them you know whores and barracks bunnies.
Mhm.
And it's I get it. They just graduated high school.
Yeah.
It's not appropriate because they are going to serve together and be on a
Yeah.
submarine together and share something that no one else can share. So I had this conversation with my CMC, and I was like, "Hey, how this is the fourth female that has come up to me
Yeah.
personally and just opened up this whole like dumpster fire of just the dudes treating them like we're some Barbie dolls, right? Like we're
Yeah.
just some, you know, shiny toy, that
Yeah.
are just here, like, you know what I mean? So I was like, what do we do? And I had this good conversation with him, and he had told me a story about how someone had briefed him, uh, and about the same thing, and was like, he put it into great perspective. He said, the man who he was talking to looked at CMC and said, "Do you have a sister?" And CMC's like, "Well, yeah." Is your sister good looking? Well, yeah, she's not ugly. Like, she's pretty. Well, would you have sex with your sister? And it's like, no, I would not have sex with my sister. And it's like, okay, we'll treat all those sailors like they're your sisters, and like don't have
Yeah.
sex with them, and treat them with like dignity and respect. So, we can go on this whole tangent about people having jam dive buddies, we'll say, on the boat, because it the ratio is so off at sub school right now, right?
I've never
There's
heard
like,
that term before. Sorry.
what?
Jam
Oh,
dive buddies. I've
are you
never heard that
serious?
before. Yeah.
Oh
No,
my
I swear to
God.
God.
Welcome to the submarine force. Oh my, well,
Oh,
think about
calm
it.
down, child. Calm down.
What do you mean you never heard of a jam dive buddy?
You're gonna start telling me about how it used to be tougher when you're like
Yeah.
back in the day,
Back
when
in
you used
my
to
day.
when you used to counsel people in the fan room. Calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things, like, and you have to tell the students and like remind them, like, hey, you guys aren't
Yeah.
here to find your like true love.
Right.
Not everybody's gonna have a great love story like Riley and I, but but like, we are brothers and sisters that are doing our job in the military.
Mhm.
We're here to serve on a submarine. We're not here to find our boyfriend or girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like,
Yeah.
if sailors are gonna do what they want to do,
Right. Right.
but when it gets to the point where you're treating the other gender like a toy, like that's
Yeah.
when people get
Well,
mad.
yeah, and that's like fraternization's been one of those things throughout my career that I've become less and less like, I don't like, I've believe in it less and less, only because of the situations we put our sailors in. It's
Mhm.
like, of course they're going to date their like, if the
Yeah.
only people they see for 18 hours a day, 7 days a week
Yep.
are people at
Mhm.
work, like who else are they going to date? Like, you become
Right.
so close to these people, like you have
Yep.
what you could argue are intimate relationships, like platonically, with these people. So like, of course it's going to happen. And so like, I would hear,
Yep.
we had a female JO on our boat right as I was checking in that was getting kicked off the boat because she was dating like an electrician, and they ended up like they both got
Ooh.
kicked off the boat. There were consequences, but like they ended up getting married and having kids, and it's like
Did they go to
I'm like,
Mast?
yeah, oh yeah, everybody went to Mast, everything happened, but like
Oh, okay.
I guess like the disdain with which the crew was talking about this female JO when I was checking in, I'm just like I mean, okay, like I get she violated the UCMJ, and I mean, oh,
Yeah.
by the way, so did he, and I didn't hear much about the electrician. I only heard about the JO, which I thought was
Oh,
not,
of course,
you know,
yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the way I was looking at it was like it's like one of those crimes that I'm just like, really? Like, I mean, put them on different submarines and just like slap their wrists and move on with life. Like, I don't see it as this like horrific thing that, but I mean, I'm a lot more forgiving on a lot of other things too, but that one in particular, over time, I just got to this point where I'm like, what do you expect? Like, of course, this is going to happen, and it's never not going to happen. And like, as the more we integrate submarines, the more it's going to happen, because of course it's going to happen. Like you're setting them up to fail. And then it's like when you see like in TV shows when cops entrap people, it's like, hey, do you want to buy these drugs? Gotcha. Like, it's like, yeah, of course it's going to happen. So when it does, it's like, yes, I expect you to have like the discipline and take your position seriously enough and all those things to not do it. But when it does happen, I feel like we should be a lot more forgiving of it, just because of like, of course it does. Like, I don't know. Like,
right. If it impacts the mission, like that's one thing. But if it's like professional and if they were at a different command, like,
well, it's not even fraternization if they're at a different command. It's like, I mean, there are people that'll argue otherwise, but if you like read the instruction, if I'm not in a position to influence your career, like, I'm pretty sure, I would like to think a JAG would agree with me. I'd have to ask, but I like the way that I read that instruction. I was like, yeah, well, I mean, they all have different opinions. And then like the JAGs I had that worked for flag officers were just like, yes people anyway. So they were just like, oh yeah, whatever you want, sir. Yeah. Everything's legal as long as it was like the Nixon principle. Like, if you say it's legal, it's legal, sir. Yeah, like that's not how this works. Like, there's books and UCMJ and stuff. So yeah, good times.
And I agree with you, but like if it affects the mission and if it affects your job, that's one thing. But like if you're looking at date with somebody else on the boat, like I don't care. It like don't recommend, because it's like, God forbid, like you broke up. Yeah, and I've seen it happen.
It's gonna affect something eventually, but I also
funny story. We had a couple dating 2 second classes. I think they're like MTs or something. They're doing turnover, and one of them is he proposed to her in missile compartment upper level during turnover.
Ew.
All right, guys, go enjoy your honeymoon for the next day in Diego Garcia.
But like, were they both like supermoto digots that just loved the Navy so much that they're like, where's the best place we could possibly do this?
It was their only chance to just like, one, like be alone, I think, because we were like in the middle of turnover. Okay. And 2, like they weren't going to see each other until the boat was like back.
Oh, were they on opposite crews or something?
Yeah, opposite crews.
Oh, okay. That, I guess it.
Yeah,
that's still I mean, Jesus, but all right, it's less ridiculous, I guess.
Yeah. So
yeah. All right. I'm just like trying to get through like the decision tree in that dude's head.
This apartment upper level would be great. There's
perfect.
It's quiet up there. She can cry if she wants to. I can cry.
Right by the sign that says we shouldn't be loitering up here because radiation.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
Yeah. Did I?
All right. Anyway, yeah. So
did I hit all the points?
I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. I saw a squirrel a few times.
Question, and there's so much more like.
Yeah.
That goes into that like question.
how much of it, like, did you, because you said like you assimilated a lot easier than you probably think that like other women have. Did you?
I know I have, especially the
right.
one female I checked in with. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was
She
going to
had
ask is like, so what were the challenges that you kind of like missed out on, I guess, not missed out on, like luckily avoided is probably a better way of saying it, that like, and like, do you think that that those types of things are the things that are going to kind of like wither up and die as more and more female leadership comes into the submarine force?
Because of the way I grew up and stuff, like obviously mechanics, so like A gang wasn't anything like tough for me to learn.
Yeah.
Like systems, I don't consider myself like an intelligent person. Like I'm not wicked smart. But when you put things into perspectives of things that I can already relate to, like a diesel motor, like it's easy to like relate that. So like that part was already way easier than any other like woman that had checked in had it, because I just had that advantage. But in terms of, what was the second part? You said like,
so the stuff that you feel like are, it's like the challenges for women on submarines that you didn't have because of your unique context. Like, do you think those types of things will like, because like, I mean, like what you're saying, unless you have that context, like the diesel stuff will still be, that'll always be challenging. But I feel like that's true. That was true for me too. Like I didn't have any experience. Like all my brothers were like elbow deep in cars and stuff growing up, and I was like on the computer. So like I never had that disposition. I'm not mechanically inclined. I'm not handy. Like I've learned some stuff over time and like just forcing myself to do it. But if the internet didn't exist, I'd probably have chopped my hand off by now building furniture. But like that's how like not inclined I am to be handy. So I'm like, are there challenges that you think existed when they first started integrating submarines that like will just wither up and die as the force becomes integrated and it's just normal everyday operations? Or do you think those things will persist?
So yeah, I think one thing comes to mind, right? Like, so when I checked on the boat, like who do you think I was going to get my checkouts from? Like gender. It was all males, right?
I mean,
because
probably just because you're so outnumbered. Yeah.
Right. So outnumbered and so new. But moving forward, now that we get more females in the submarine force with, like fish on their chest, becoming SMEs that can sign qual cards, females don't have to work up the courage to go to the scary second class A-ganger. They can go to the female, with fish on her chest, that's a second class A-ganger. So I think that kind of answers your question. So if you know what I mean?
Are
like
female second class A-gangers not scary? Because I've met a few and
So
shout out to Taylor Noski and Elizabeth Bledsoe. I'm still scared of you. I'm kidding. I'm not scared of them. I knew him as a senior chief, so like I didn't have to be scared of him. But like I could see like a brand new non-qual checking in and being scared of them, like, or being intimidated, I guess is probably a better word. But like they're like, they were some bad apples. Like they rode us, they were on Ohio and they rode that last patrol that I did, and they were incredible. But like I could see them being super intimidating. Like, I don't know.
Did you know MMA2 Brahmin? Very like cheerleader, very sweet girl. Very,
I don't think,
think she's an A-ganger. So like I just said, she's a cheerleader, very sweet, like very
that's funny.
Smile on her face. And that's what I was picturing, like, if I was a young female checking in and I had the option of like MMA2 Mason Buzan, just this hard ass back in my day, beat each other up, or I had MMA2 Brittany Bramman, who's like, okay, let me walk you through this ventilation checkout. You know what I mean? Like I'd be
That's
like,
funny.
oh, MMA 2 brand.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to her.
So yeah, so and like you said before, the Cobb, the first female Cobb, the first female XO, it's just becoming, women in submarines is becoming the new norm.
Yeah.
It's slowly but surely becoming, the new norm. So I don't think there's going to be any like obstacles at a, here in the near future that like, the first wave of female submariners had to go through.
Yeah.
So I think it will get easier in terms of integration, and the stigma of like the old school, old zots, like, submarine force. So I think we're warming up to all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about how you got social media famous recently. How Sub School made you social media famous, sort of. That was like, when I saw some accounts making fun of the junior sailor, because of the way the picture turned out, and they just started trolling her, and I was just like, really, dude.
People suck, dude.
Yeah, that was gross. If they're gonna, and I'm not saying that like they should be in the comments trashing you either, but like if you're gonna do that to somebody, do it to you, not to Seaman.
And that's exactly
whatever.
Thank you. That's
yeah.
Like, so for those of you that don't know, Facebook, Not Sub School, PAO posted a photo of me. It was Women's History Month, so it was very fitting to, put a
makes sense.
Put a little intro up there. She was trying to, I think, Fleet Forces Command or some other like SLC. No, it wasn't SLC. Some other like naval command did like it's called Faces of the Fleet. Yeah, so it's like a picture of a sailor and then like a little snippet, like, why'd you join the Navy, or like what's the best part about your job, or something like that. The
local flag command that I worked at right before I retired does the same thing. I think they call it Faces of the Deep or something stupid like that. But it's same thing. PAOs taking pictures of submariners, and there's a little blurb about like who they are and what they do, and
and which I think is awesome. And we have a new PAO, and I love that she wanted to, take advantage of social media and get the faces of the deep, out there, and like let's show the world like who is serving in the submarine force. So it was a picture of me just in my NDubs, and she had asked me, and it's funny because she already had a written statement for me that said like I joined the submarine force because it was a very cookie cutter answer, and I was like, no. I was like, I honestly, like, one of the reasons I joined the submarine force was because I wanted to make history. I wanted to, the way one of the guys at my first command had sold it to me when the nav admin came out was like, hey, like not a lot of females like get to do this or are going to be able to get to do this. Like you'll potentially be in history books, and you're gonna pave the way for females that are following your footsteps. And I was like, that sounds awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to join the submarine force, was because I was selfish and I wanted to make history. So little did I know that answer bit me in the ass, because Joanne and her 7 cats thought that wasn't a good enough reason to join the submarine force. Apparently I should have joined the submarine force to I don't know, honor, courage, commitment, XYZ.
I was gonna say, did any of the haters provide alternative motivations, or did they just hate? Like,
no,
like, okay, what should my motivation have been then?
Which is already my motive, like, because I want to serve my country. Like, yes, I'm in the Navy because I want to serve my country. Yeah, like, why? Like, that's already like a given answer. So like that just, it blew my mind, and I was just watching the comments come in, and I was laughing at a lot of them. And, shout out to all the people that quickly defended me. And just like, put Joanne and Jake and Mr. Guy with no profile picture like in their place, because
ISIS.
I
wish I would have been aware of it early enough to troll some of those clowns, because it's like I bet you, and I haven't seen the accounts until, so tell me if I'm wrong, but I bet you've done infinitely more than any of these clowns in the comments ever did for their country in any capacity ever. So it's like, what are we even talking about? Like, you're not qualified to be a critic, so shut up.
I mean, Eddie Mike won the Cold War, so I don't.
Obviously.
I don't have to on him. So I mean, he's another.
Oh my god.
He's a whole nother story, but yeah. I mean, it was weird because most of them were, like I said, Joanne, her Facebook, she had like just a bunch of pictures of cats. There was no like served in the U.S. Navy.
Yeah.
This other guy I had a couple mutual friends with, so I thought that was funny. It looks like he did a 4-year tour and got out.
Yeah.
So it just it's all keyboard warriors, right? Like, and it's like, be happy for someone and something, right? Like, people are trying to do good, so embrace that, but that'll never happen on social media, right? So anyways, like, that had gone up to the, the PAO was briefing the CO and the XO and the CMC, and the XO was like, his fingers were hot. He was ready to get on there and like, tell all those people to go kick rocks. He didn't, which is fine. Like, I had plenty of other people like defend me and say like, hey, Jessie Barnes has like, done way more than you ever have or ever will.
100%.
So it was, I didn't even have to defend myself. I didn't like, there's a few comments. Riley got on there and,
of course,
replied to somebody and
I knew Riley wouldn't bite his tongue.
Like, significant other. Yeah. And he had a very submarine answer to one of them, and it was eat my spoon with an ass, or sorry.
Eat my ass with a spoon.
With a spoon. Eat my spoon with an ass. I like that. I'll use that one instead. But yeah. So Riley said that. That was tongue twister. So I didn't even have to defend myself, which was great.
Yeah.
But what I was worried about was when she posted, I forget her name, Seaman, something.
The young
sonar tech.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was just I saw the picture and I was like,
yeah. As soon as I saw the picture, I knew that wasn't going to go well. But like, and it's by no fault of her own, but.
No, but she was honest in her quote. Her reason why she wanted to join the submarine force was because she thought submarines were cool. Submarines are awesome. Yeah,
they are very cool.
Like, so, like, I give her credit for being honest. Like, yes, thank you. Submarines are cool. It didn't just people are so quick to judge without and like write something on social media without thinking. And what kills me is that she's still in curriculum. She's not even on her boat yet. You know what I mean? Like, she hasn't even, stepped foot on a submarine other than like a tour. Right. So what hurts me is that she can't defend herself on Facebook, where I had a bunch of people defending me. Right. You know what I mean? So it wasn't fair to her to go through that. I would have rather people continue to
come at me.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there was a few meme pages that were giving her credit for like saying like, hey, at least she's honest. Like, hey, like, submarines are cool. The reason I joined the Air Force is because I love planes, so some people were like, backing her up and being supportive. So that was good. It was nice to see some
I saw a few negative ones where they shared it and were just like laughing at, and I mean, I didn't see a lot of like horrific captions. It was just sharing it and just like the picture itself. And just kind of like, laughing at it, I guess, which I mean, I guess it could have been worse, but it's just like come at me, come at you, come at somebody that can fight back. Like, don't come at some brand new like sub school student. Like, really? Like, they don't even know what the real Navy is yet.
Right. She's not out there. Like, it'd be different if she was out there putting like making TikToks. Uniform. That's
trying to be an influencer or something.
Yep. The PAO sought her out and, wanted to do something cool for her. Like, she didn't know that was going to happen. You know what I mean? So, and the PAO didn't know either. The PAO didn't know that it was, going to blow up to become this big meme. Right. So I feel bad for both of them. I genuinely do. But, people suck, dude.
Yeah, some people.
But
Just
but it's funny because now they're posting men, right?
yeah.
Male instructors, and they're getting roasted too. So
Oh, that's interesting.
it's just gonna keep it, and there's some of them are pretty good
It's
comments,
Yeah, and I bet you it's just
but
like the
it's
people from those meme pages are now making it a point to go to the sub school Facebook and roast the people. So it's like,
I
whatever.
think so.
I mean, I like, okay, but like come at the grown-ups. Don't come at brand new, because even I feel the same way about like if they post a picture of a male student, like it's like they're brand new. Like, I mean, yeah, they're going to have some like brain dead answers sometimes. And I don't even think submarines are cool is a bad answer. I think it's kind of a gangster answer, but like, whatever. They're kids. Like they haven't even been out in the wild yet. Like, let them go be in the real Navy before you come at them sideways, because like a year into submarines, they're going to have the chops and the friends to defend themselves. But it's like, they're going to have the chops to come back at you with some pretty nice, some pretty nice comebacks. But it's just like, yeah, dude.
It'd be cool if the PAO did like a. It'd be cool if a PAO did like a "Where are they now?" like a year later, and they take the same female, and she's like,
yeah, it would be nice.
Like, submarines are still cool.
Yeah, yeah, that could be a whole thing. It's. I was making a joke. I talked to Ellison. That's the podcast that'll come out before this one. Me and Ellison did one the other day, and we were talking about
awesome
how we were talking about God, I'm fucking brain fog, dude. I just scrammed. I don't remember what I was going to say. Me and Ellison were talking about something in that vein about like people getting trolled or something like that, and I was trying to remember what it is, and now it's escaping me.
I talk about like submariners mid-watch because they are the worst.
No, it was group. Oh no, God! Every chief Facebook group I was ever in, I immediately left because it was just like the worst, like most ridiculous crap, and it was like. We were talking about the Navy Times comment section. That's what we were talking about. So like we were talking about like how it was something to do with me. Now that I'm retired, I can't it's not like I'm going to call somebody's command, but even if I did, I was like, if I was still on active duty, I would hang up on me and tell me to go back to the Navy Times comment section. And it's like, that's the like the type of people that we're talking about. Is like the cat lady was probably like the wife of some deceased chief that retired in 1987, you know? And so she thinks she has a license to run her mouth because her husband was in the Navy once, you know what I mean? And it's like, those are the types of people that are trolling the comment section of something like that and being that person. And so it's just like, it's considered the source.
I'll be honest, there is some grown men that probably served on diesel boats that are not like 100% not okay with the thought of women in submarines, which hurts me. It really does, because like 99% of the men I have met that have served in the submarine force are like, oh my God, thank you. Finally. You know, we have women. I'm so glad I'm able to witness this. And I've had support from submarine veterans that, you know, Holland Club members, which are the guys that have had their fish for 50 years. You know, so like, and then you meet these people that are like, that would never happen in my Navy. You know, like I'm leaving the boat before you ever check in on board. And it's like,
bye.
On, like,
good riddance. Like, pack your bags and kick rocks. I'll never understand, not only because like if they were in the submarine force currently, I feel like most of those people would come around and only the sociopaths would be left. Like just the evil people would be left. But like, because part of it is just conditioning and the time they grew up and the context they grew up in and whatever. Like, so there's like a pity based forgiveness that is in my mind for most of those people, but there are some people that are probably just evil, hateful human beings. But like for me, like I had a question in my mind of like how it was going to be different, right? Like, because I had the same, like when they said we were going to have trans sailors, I was just like, okay,
So if I get a trans sailor, how is it going to be different for me? Like as a leader, like what needs are they going to have that are going to be different that I'm going to have to address as their leadership?
Right.
And I don't understand currently. So I was like trying to explore that concept. And when I never got to talk to anybody. I was trying to get Kristen back on the podcast for a while, and because she's detransitioning or whatever.
Okay.
I don't really know a lot about.
Detransitioning. Wow.
Like now back to Chris Beck, I guess.
Wow. Okay.
But I wanted to get, because I'm like, this is a perfect person. You were in the Navy, even though it was like SEALs, so it's like its own little community, but like huge like icon within that like community, understands it all. And you were a senior chief. Like this is perfect. I'm like, so I was really trying to get her
and
on.
a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, Kristen Beck. Have you never seen?
No.
The documentary's cool, but like now detransitioning for whatever reason. But it's called Lady Valor. It used to be on Netflix. I don't know, but there's a whole documentary on the whole. The whole SEAL Team 6, like just like top tier operator.
Badass.
Just absolutely badass human. And then when they retired, they transitioned. And then now transition back. I don't know any of the anything behind the detransition part, but I was trying to get, and that's not even like relevant. I was trying to get her on at the time because I was like, oh, this will be perfect. You can provide me all the context that I need. And I thought it would be really valuable for other, like the audience, like, hey, if you get a trans sailor, this is how it's going to be different and it'll give you more tools. But then when we brought those female enlisted underway, and I had a CS2, she was a CS3 at the time, but now CS1 working at the Pentagon because she's a boss. But she came underway, and I was thinking the same thing. Like, how is this going to be different? Like, I had worked with female enlisted sailors as like a second class on my first shore duty. And so I kind of felt like I knew what I was getting myself into, but it had been a while, and I was a senior chief now. And like, so I'm like, how's this going to be different to have enlisted female submariners on a submarine underway? Like, what needs are they going to have that are going to be different from my male sailors, blah, blah, blah. And what I discovered during that patrol was like, it's not different. Like, they're just sailors. They're submariners. It's not different. They have the same human needs as everyone else. I do what I do with my normal sailors, where I'm just like, and normal just meaning like I only had dudes before, not that there's any difference, obviously. But like, I go into it and I'm like, okay, like, how is this individual different than this other individual? What motivates them? What needs do they have? And then I lead them accordingly based on the skill set and experience that I have. And so it was like surprising to me. But then like when I thought about it, it's like, because I just reflected on it a lot, especially when I started thinking about the trans thing. And I'm just like, I don't think it is going to be different. Like, I don't think if I had a trans sailor, it would be different. Like, I think it's like there's nothing unique about a human being's needs while serving in the military and my needing to lead them and teach them how to be a submariner, because that's like what I'm doing is like, I'm helping them assimilate to submarines. I'm helping them get qualified. I'm leading them so we can do the same mission as the dudes have done before. So it's like, what's different? They're here. And that was what was interesting to me. It was like, I kind of felt like an idiot a little bit, because I'm just like, why would I think they're here for any other reason than to be submariners? And if that's what they're here for, that's what everybody's here for. So it's not different. It's the same. So like, that was kind of like, looking back on it, I'm like, I kind of felt stupid, but it was nice that I got to learn that. I got taught that by like CS2 McMillan. Like, she's like incredible human being. One of the best sailors I've ever had. Like, I wanted to keep her. Like, I'm like, can we just not let her go back to the Ohio? Because she was incredible. And I didn't even need the help. She was just there to get qualified. But it worked out great, because I got to get one of my sailors off for his kid being born. And because I had like the flexibility to do that. But on top of that, it was like, I got to learn that, not just from her. Like, I was standing dive. So I had a bunch of female enlisted sailors in my watch section and the other watch sections. And we had a female yeoman senior chief underway. So I got to work with her a bunch and kind of like interact with a senior chief in the chief's mess underway on a submarine. So I got to get that experience too. And all it really did was show me that like, it's not different. And she didn't want it to be different. Monica was cool, because she explained to me like, they were making her sleep in like berthing with like they had berthing for the female enlisted sailors, and they made her sleep there, and she was pissed. She wanted to sleep in the quarters with everyone else, and she's like, yeah, I don't care, we'll put a sign on the head, like whatever. Like she was upset that she didn't get to berth in the chief's mess with us, and I was just like, I mean, we don't care, but like the CO does, so like I don't know what you want me to do here, but she was like, it was cool that she took the time to explain to us and like demonstrate through her behavior that like, look, it's not different. We're all just here to be submariners. So just treat us like submariners and we'll all be fine. And it's super simple.
At the end of the day, like if you can respond to a casualty and, you know, save the sailors and save the boat, like that's, you know,
it's the same. It does. Then who cares? Like if they, if they can earn their dolphins just like I did and do the job just like I did, as long as they earn it, like, okay, I don't care. Like, you know, like, and it's, go ahead.
In there's a funny story I have to tell in regards of like needs. And then, you know, we're no different. There is a funny story about, we had a 5-week underway. We were taking the boat. We were supposed to take the boat back from the Middle East back to Kings Bay. We're transiting across the Atlantic, and then we get a message that, you know, we got to go back out because, you know, Iran was mad. So we're heading back out, and you know, the CO gets over the 1MC, and he's like, hey, pretty much like, you know, we were ordered to turn back around. So we had a 5-week underway turn into a 5-month deployment.
Damn.
I was sitting at cams, and I was on watch, and I'm sitting at cams, and I'm just like, oh my God. And my immediate reaction was, I do not have enough tampons to get me through.
I was thinking that, but I was like, am I being a dick right now? But like, yeah, like I got burned on Jimmy Carter by that, because like the missions would get extended constantly. And so like after the first mission, I was just like compulsively overpacking. So like I always had I always had enough like shower stuff and like extra crap to like just in case we got extended forever.
It sucks.
So I'm scarred for life.
Like it was rough, right? So
I believe it.
The females obviously expressed their concerns to, you know, the COB. And it sucks because like, oh, like, you know, God, we have to pull into Spain now to get the females tampons, and that wasn't it. Like half the crew didn't have.
I mean, you probably needed everybody needed stuff, so it's not because we need tampons, you dork.
We do.
So
he didn't say that, but like, you know what I mean? Like that's what we were.
Well,
scared,
you needed
like,
food too. I bet you. I'd bet you a month's pay that they had to pull in for parts, food, consumables, and everything. You know what I mean? Like, and everybody needed stuff. So shut up.
So somebody needed like dental work, so they had to get him off too. So he went and like shopped in Spain, went to the Next and got like, you know, all the chiefs like threw in some money to get all the females,
clean them out.
Like and they did, and it was great. Like it was nice to have.
I would have went and found the manager and just been like, "Do you have like a pallet so I don't like just clean?" Like because here's what's going on. Like I need all like a pallet of these things, not like because there's probably somewhere on base that had that, but
so you know, it's some of the females had enough, and you know, some of us were just like, we never would have thought, and like we learned, like I learned my lesson, like
that's
don't underpack, right?
Yeah, but like, that's not you. But again, like it's illustrative of the point that it's not really different, because they would have been in the same situation had there been no female sailors on board, because they would have needed food, consumable. Yeah, I mean, so it's like that's just what happens when you get extended. But there's definitely times where a boat gets extended, like because like when Carter would get extended, it was like we kind of knew already. It was part of the check-in process. It was like, make sure you pack for more than you think you're going to need. You know what I mean? And like, I would go talk to the CO and be like, I wasn't allowed to know the mission or know, like, we would know kind of how long we were going to be underway. But like, I'd go to the CO who was obviously briefed on everything and read in on everything. And I'd be like, hey, sir, how much food do you want on board? Like not, and it was, the question wasn't like, how long are we scheduled to be underway? It's like, how long do you think we could potentially be underway so that I can plan for that? And then he would tell me like, this is how many days of food I want to have to allow for the operational flexibility and blah, blah, blah. So it's
I
like,
couldn't imagine doing like that job. Like that must be so frustrating. And like, I give you guys credit. I give, all of supply credit. And
it's interesting.
Just you guys, I remember doing like freezer unloads.
Oh God, to count
putting everything in cruise mess and just counting, and it was just so cold.
Yep.
And I'd be like I'd find a box of like dino nuggets, and not I'm just making up dino nuggets because I just saw them at Costco today, and I'm like, CSC. I was like, when the fuck did we get dino nuggets? It's an F-bomb.
That's fine. I got it.
So it's like,
yeah,
and it just, I don't know. You guys just impressed me with, and I'm gonna say this right now. I got fat every underway and deployment because of your bread, because of the bread recipe on
fat
the boat.
Bombs,
I
baby,
ate so
let's
much.
Go. There's so much fat in hot rolls. We called them fat bombs. Like there's so much fat in those dinner rolls. Yeah. Like
really?
Oh yeah. Like I forget nowadays. I forget the measurements, but like I used to have that recipe memorized. And it was like the hot roll dough, which a lot of cooks, because on submarines, especially because they're not classically trained, they don't understand like what type of dough is appropriate for what application. But so they would, because hot roll dough is so full of fat, it's like a really soft, delicious dough, right? So they would use it for everything. So like most boats you go on, they're making hot roll dough for like pizza dough and for like all this other stuff that it's not intended for at all. Because like pizza dough traditionally is a very lean dough. Like there's not a lot of fat in it, and it's usually olive oil. So like they didn't understand that, and so they were using it for like everything. So every boat I'd get to, they were using hot roll dough for everything. Like
crew.
Yeah, and I'm just like, stop it. Not only because I don't want to carry this much shortening, but also it's just not the right, like, because when you make a proper pizza dough, it tastes way better. But like they just didn't know, and that was the best option.
Yeah, maybe that's why I hated my pizza night. I hated pizza
Everybody
night.
does until somebody teaches them how to make pizza the right way. That's what's so frustrating about
which is what.
Well,
when the first class is cooked. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny too is like a lot of times somebody on the crew is classically trained and it's not a cook. It's bizarre. I've encountered that so many times. Like I had an A-ganger that was like really like experienced chef in the civilian world, and then joined the Navy and became an A-ganger for some reason that I still can't explain.
Oh God.
And like he works at like one of the refit facilities that's local nowadays doing A-gang related things. But it was like he used to travel and like all over the world, and he's incredible. Same thing with a couple other guys that they had culinary degrees or like significant experience in the civilian industry before they came in. And so they'd come hang out in the galley with us and cook good food. And it's like, you can learn things from people like that, but like a lot of people don't, because most of the CS community is not classically trained. Like I'm an alien in that, like I got a fancy culinary degree and some civilian experience. So like I had the capacity to, I got a Johnson & Wales culinary degree. And when I was on my first shore duty in Connecticut. So I was driving up to Providence, Rhode Island every weekend for like a year and a half.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I got real lucky. Like my first leading MS, cause I'm old, was our food service officer got fired for some reason before I showed up, like for stealing or being incompetent or something. So he was a CS chief at the time, about to retire, and he was the food service officer filling in until we got a new supply officer. And so when I showed up, I like negotiated this deal with them to go to culinary school on weekends. And I would like work. They made me the bake shop guy, and I would like come in on weird hours and just like do the work I would have done when I would have had duty on the weekends. Cause we were on a 5 and 2, like alternating. So every other weekend you're at work. And so I would come in like,
What command was this?
This was Submarine Base New London. I was at the base galley.
Oh, at the
my first shore duty, I was at Crosshall Galley.
Okay.
So yeah, and I would like come in and weird hours and like do all my work, and so that they would have the desserts that they needed over the weekend, and then I'd be at school. But yeah, like you normally don't have the capacity to do that within a CS division. Like nobody gets a culinary degree, and like I was an instructor and the senior enlisted leader at CSA school, and it's a joke. Like it drives me absolutely nuts. Yeah, the whole time I was there, I was like pulling out chunks of my hair, going like this isn't like you might as well delete this school. Like if this is all the funding and instructional hours I'm going to get, you might as well just delete it because they're not learning anything. Like by the time it's a 25 training day school and you lose like the first and last day at least to like indoc and all the stuff you have to do to get them like uniforms and stuff. And then the last day to graduation, and then they leave. Right. And then that's at least that. So you're getting like maybe 22, 21 training days. And then they go on leave for 14 to 21 days, depending on if they're going overseas or not. And then they go to their first command. So it's like they spend almost as much time on leave as they do in school. So like they data dump everything. And it's not enough time. Like if you go get a civilian certificate, just a certificate, not even an associate's degree, a certificate will take you 6 months to a year. Like the fastest one I could find was 6 months long. And it's like 6 months to be like an entry level culinary worker in the civilian industry. So it's like, of course the cooks aren't great at their job because they've never been properly trained in it. Yeah, it's just like leadership development education, which is why I do this. Like it's the same concept. Like they just don't want to put any time or effort into teaching them, but then everybody bitches and moans about the quality of the food on ships and submarines. And it's like, well, yeah, of course it sucks. Like, of course it does. And there are anomalies out there for sure, but there are anomalies because we don't do a good job of preparing them, like, and teaching them how to actually do it. And it's like you can tell when you, and I'm just going down a rabbit hole, so I'm going to stop soon because most people don't care, but like you can tell when, like, if you have a classical education and you go look at the curriculum of CSA school, for instance, you can tell like whoever did this and whoever's responsible for like building and managing it has no idea what they're talking about. Like it's not built by people that are educated, and it's like the blind leading the blind, just like the leadership development stuff. So it's like it's super frustrating because like I'm really passionate about CSs and the community and really defensive of them, but it's like it sucks because you can't defend like there was this thing going around for a while. You can't really defend the food quality generally because a lot of times it sucks really bad. Like it's just like a lot of incompetence and a lot of just like bad leadership and bad management, but also like the people that are charged with leading it don't know what they're doing either. You know, like a lot of the CSCs and CSCSs that you meet in the fleet don't know how to cook either. Like not really, like they figured some stuff out over time and trial and error and stuff, but it's like, they don't actually know how to cook. And so, and then the ones that do, like, this is the really gross part, is all the talent usually ends up in the enlisted aid community. Like, that's where the culinary artists are. Like, they go enlisted aid. Like, that's where McMillan is. She was incredible. She's an enlisted aid now. So it's like they all go there and do fancy culinary things. And then the fleet sailors just, you know, continue to rinse and repeat the same cycle of incompetence. We had a guy come from the...
we had a guy come from the White House, and we were like, please, for the love of God, just do something like different. And he did. He killed it. And we were so thankful for him. So it takes just a little bit of care.
Yeah. It's knowledge. It's knowledge. Yeah. That's all it is. Like everybody can do it if you teach them. And but you have to have the capacity to teach. Like you have to have the level of knowledge and experience to teach them how to do those things. And it's like 99% of CSSs and just CSs on the surface side don't have that knowledge and experience by no fault of their own because the institution doesn't educate them. Like it's as simple as like sign a contract with a couple of community colleges on the East and West Coast and let them teach the culinary competence part, and then put them through the existing learning sites to learn the Navy part of it. Cause we got our own Navy paperwork and all that other crap. But then like, I mean, problem solved. Like, but we don't, like outside of the enlisted aid community, we don't have the competence in like Gen Pop to like populate the A school, even if they made it 6 months long, with people that have the capacity to teach it the right way. Like you would have to just like pillage the enlisted aid community or make civilians do it. And either way, it's like, you know, like we do have the capacity in the enlisted aid community. I just don't know that we could like take 25 enlisted aides away that have that level of experience and make them the instructors at the A school. But that'd be the only way to get that level of competence in there. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Tell me how you really feel.
Every time somebody gets me on a CS rant, this is how it ends up, because
Yeah.
like it's
So passionate. I love it.
It's so frustrating because it's like, and it very much mirrors the reason why I do the leadership development stuff, like, because it's like the same thing. I think this stuff's more important, obviously, but like I'm really passionate about the CS community, and it's the same thing. It's just like the blind leading the blind. Nobody wants to put any time or effort into teaching them how to do the job, but then they all, like, everybody universally bitches and moans about the quality of the food. And it's like, okay, well then get the capacity in here to teach them how to do it correctly. It's just like every sailor in the Navy complaining about leadership, like, and how all their leadership sucks. And it's like, okay, well, maybe, just maybe, we should spend some time on leadership development and education. But, here we are. So have you gotten to do any of the NLEC ELD stuff?
And what is this?
The NLEC ELD stuff, like the enlisted leadership development classes?
No.
Boo. I want, like, you should try to get in that chief one. I'm curious to know.
So I can't go to, what is it? SCA, obviously.
Right.
I think you have to be an E8 or like
so you can go as a 7, but you get at least the way it used to be.
2 EPs.
Yeah, there's some crap, like some prerequisite stuff, and then you need like your force to sign off on it. But then you just get on like a wait list, like a standby list, and if it doesn't fill up with 8s and 9s, then you can go. But like that, I went as a chief, and it was awesome. But I'm talking about, they have like a CPO leadership development classes that's specifically for 7s through ELD that I'm curious about.
Yeah, we do have that. We do have that here, and I do want to go through. Believe it or not, I'm a yeoman right now, so I'm a CPPA, and I'm responsible for like transferring students out of sub school to the fleet. So I guess this was like a mini little redistribution. They pulled me out of like teaching ITS school and put me in N1, which is like student admin. So which is fine. I'm learning a lot. This will be good for like
it'll make you a better chief. Yeah.
To
fix pay issues.
Oh, absolutely. Like submitting trouble tickets through this program called Salesforce. Yeah. And I'm learning a lot about like orders and like different ACC codes. So it's nice. I'm not upset about being in an administrative position at all. I'm thankful because I genuinely think it will make me a better chief. So
it will, and it'll. If you want to stick around and be a cob and stuff too, it's going to provide you a level of understanding on institutional stuff it'll be really good.
Yeah, I think so too. So I'm thankful, but I'm going back to teaching the ITS pipeline soon. So I'm excited about that, to get back in my rate before I go back to a boat.
Yeah.
So
I'm
stoked for that.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Like, what's your long-term goal?
I mean, the right answer is always to, qualified cob, be a cob.
No, it's not. You like, if you want to be, do it. If you don't, whatever.
No, I mean, like who wouldn't want to be a cob, right? And I'm sure if you don't want to be a cob, there's some, good reason as to why you don't, but I would love to be a cob. That's long-term, obviously, right? Like I'm a boot chief. I've only been for 8 years. So I've still got so much to learn. But as of right now, I am slotted to go to the District of Columbia, the USS DC.
Oh, okay.
Which is first of its class, the Columbia class. So this is all verbal. It's one of those things where like I have to see it in black and white before I believe it. Right. So that's why I like to,
So you're pre-comming then?
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I heard that's rough, even though you're not going to sea, like, which I don't quite understand, but
that's what I've heard too, right? And I ask anybody that's been on a PCU, I'm like, hey, like, what was your experience?
Right.
There's pros and cons, right? The Columbia is still, it's so new that I'll be part of initial manning, and I'll be in an office building for the first 2 years. Yeah. So the first like year and a half, 2 years are great until like the boat starts coming together and habitability starts becoming a thing, right? And then that's when
Yeah.
that's when I'm on the boat for 12 hours, 12 to 16 hours
Right.
a day.
Okay.
So blessing it occurs, pros and cons.
Yeah.
I think it'll be rewarding because it's a first of its class,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the Columbia project. It's under a lot of eyes right now. So, I'm looking forward to that part of, just being a part of like a really big project. But
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I think part of me is really going to wish that I went back to sea. Um, but
Yeah. I
I
mean,
I am going to ask for a ride. I do want to go on a ride
yeah,
on a fast
that's
boat
all,
up here.
that's what I was going to say is just go out on rides. Like just volunteer yourself
Yeah.
to go out on rides so you can get qualified dive if you didn't already. And like,
Yep.
you get some of that experience doing those types of things. Especially if your long-term goal is to be a cob, I would be thinking about those types of things too. Like
Yeah.
what can I do to set myself up for that? Cause like one of the things I was talking to, we were doing the live stream, I think like a week ago, and I was talking to somebody that was a career counselor, and I was like, that's gonna set you up for being a really good chief, because it's the type of program where it's like you get so much awareness of like institutional expertise type things, like the programs, and you get to interact with a lot of those programs in a way that, like, when you're just being a good like LCPO for your sailors, knowing all that stuff, like knowing the Milpers man in that way and how to navigate those programs and interact with ECMs and all this other crap, it's like, yeah, I mean, it helps a ton. And like just being aware of like the reenlistment stuff and how SRBs work and how the reenlistment request process works and all that crap, it's like, it's a big deal, and it lets you like just take way better care of your sailors when you have that kind of awareness of those types of programs.
And it's so scary because there's days where my leadership is talking about, and this is like, this is like 12 to 16 year, chiefs, senior chiefs, and they're talking about stuff that I've never heard of, and I'm like, holy crap, like, should I know about that? And it's terrifying being so behind the curve, but I have to remember, like, I'm still young, and I have to.
You're not going to have that level of awareness until like you're just starting to do it. Like with the CPPA thing, it was great. Being in those types of positions will be really helpful. But even like being an instructor is going to be helpful too. It's going to make you a better trainer. It's going to make you like that experience is going to be good. Just the public speaking aspect of it. If you're cob, you're standing in front of the whole crew at all hands call and all this other stuff. So like, there's lots of experiences that are going to be like good, but I think you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now. But also though, like I would say, do spend some time studying those things a little bit. Like I wouldn't freak out about it, but like I think familiarization with the Milpers man, familiarization with like the correspondence manual, the eval manual, the advancement manual, like you should really know those books. Because what you end up running into is like, if you just operate on like the stuff you learned during the chief season, which a lot of which can be tribal knowledge or something I heard once or whatever, it's like, then you're going to run afoul of those systems when you don't understand the policy that's actually in the policy documents. And then your sailors evals are jacked up, or they don't make E5, and you don't have the capacity to review their profile sheet and add everything up and realize they have points missing because you didn't know that the nav admin lists the range of dates for the eval promotion ratings that are supposed to be counted as that part of their PMA point calculation. And God, where do I even find out how to calculate the PMA points? Well, it turns out it's in the advancement manual. So it's like, there's just this resistance people seem to have, like, oh yeah, there's people for that. Like we have yeomen and PSs for that. Like that's not my job. But it's like doing collateral duties, like being the ESO or being the command career counselor or the CPPA stuff you're doing now. Like all of that puts you in the position to learn on the job, but you can also just open the book and it's like,
and look it up yourself.
And it doesn't take that long. Cause when you open up like the advancement manual, for instance, most of the advancement manuals are largely irrelevant. Like talking about like combat, meritorious advancement program. Like when are you ever going to interact with that? Never. All right. Unless World War III happens and you guys are shooting torpedoes at other submarines. But it's like, the a lot of the stuff that's in there, it's like you're going to be focused on like 3 chapters out of the whole reference. So like you could do that in an afternoon. Like just go through it and read it and then, you know, I don't know, give training on it or just highlight some stuff and keep it in a binder or something. But it's just knowing where to look is really important. Like it's not like you like reviewing it and then just knowing where to look the stuff up. Cause like that's the other thing is like those instructions get revised and updated pretty frequently. So you have to go reference them anyway. And then it's like, you just like knowing where to look keeps you out of trouble when it's time to do those things. So like, when I'm reviewing packages for people for the Chiefs board stuff, it's like, I know where to look. So it's like, whether or not I'm have it all memorized, it's like, if I know where to look and confoundingly, most people don't. And it's like, oh my God, like there's so much like, and you probably experienced this prior to making Chief, you and Riley, it's like, there's so much just absolute garbage out there in the ether about how we make Chiefs and like what you should be worried about. And no one takes the time to just open the book and look. Like if you open the advanced manual, like you just start at the nav admin, like that's the easiest place to look. And it'll tell you, go look at this Milper's Man article, go look at the Navy Advanced Manual, these chapters, and look at this nav admin, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. And it's like, but no one seems to like want to look at that. And then everybody thinks like the Chiefs board is this like enigma. And it's like, no, there's training. There's a PowerPoint slide deck linked on my Navy HR that'll give pictures of the room that we're in, like the little remote that we push the remote control, press 100 now, like all that crap is in there. And like, I have a whole YouTube training video podcast thing about it, but it's like, it's not a mystery if you know where to look. And for some reason, most people don't know where to look and don't try to find out and just operate in this tribal knowledge. Like, like I'm going to like scatter these chicken bones and like build a monument to the gods and just hope that I make Chief. And it's like, oh my God, why, dude? But yeah, it's a lot of it. I don't think you're not as behind as you think you are. You're just where you are in your development, but also go out of your way to get that awareness. Like it's just going to make you a better Chief. But it's not something you need to be like panic studying before because you're behind. Like you're not behind. You know?
Like I'll read the correspondence manual to fall asleep.
Yeah. It's not a fun read, but like what I would do. Yeah. What I would do is just like when I was writing a letter, I would go look up how to format a letter properly instead of being the guy that just emails it to the yeoman so they can yeomanize it. Yeah. It's like, cause half the yeomen don't do it right either. Like, like they don't read the correspondence manual, not half of them, but like some of the people I've interacted with, like they'll send it back to me. And like, because I spend so much time in the correspondence manual, or I used to, it's like I immediately would recognize that it wasn't done correctly. And I'm like, that's not how this is supposed to go. So like, I just stopped having them yeomanize my stuff. I was just like, unless I had to route it through them for like a CO signature or something, because they would just do it wrong. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a book for this. Like,
almost anything you could think of in the Navy, there literally is an instruction for.
There's an instruction for grilled cheese.
Correspondence.
Like,
Oh yeah,
there's
like there's serve it with tomato soup.
Yeah, there's an instruction for like literally everything. And if there's not, you can just make a TSO. Like that was a meme recently.
Did you know that?
Like, what?
Did you know that an ad came out saying that like something about grilled cheese and they had to like that like naval ships had to serve it with like tomato soup.
Oh well, so what had happened was. Like so the Navy has what's called a Navy Standard Core menu, and some bonehead in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania at NavSup, or like maybe even higher, I don't know, like high up, decided that it would be a great idea to standardize the menu across the entire fleet. And they justified it based on like nutritional value and if we standardize all the catalogs, then all the food that you need will be available in whatever port you go to, which isn't true.
Right.
That's like, it's not, you can't, and it's stupid. And all this other stuff. But basically what they ended up doing was one, like really like negatively affected food quality just by making a bunch of people who are incompetent at this job wrote a menu for the whole Navy, and it's hot garbage. And then the nutritional crap that they did is based on pseudoscience and just it's hot garbage.
The
And
green,
then
yellow, and red.
the it's called Go for Green. It's just a brain dead program. Like the
Love
best
it.
example I found was like a roast turkey, just roasting turkey breast, like the boneless turkey breast we get on the boat. Just roast turkey. Nothing. All I did was put it in the oven and make it hot. Is yellow in that color coded system, but turkey cutlets that I dredge in flour and soak in olive oil and then put on the griddle, green. Science. And I'm like,
Nice.
like idiots. But anyway, and so like the entire like the Armed Forces Rescue Service, hot garbage, because it was designed by people that didn't know what they were doing. So but that menu, the real reason that they did it was to save money, and that's just like the saying the quiet part out loud is if you buy in bulk, the contract says you get discounts, right? So like with all of the prime vendor people, like the civilian companies that we order our foods through, if every menu's the same, we're going to order more of the same line items in bulk because we're all ordering the same thing. So they limited our catalog to what they call this master load list for the Navy Standard Core menu. And so then now we're all just ordering a shitload of ground beef and all like chicken breasts and all the same things. So the more we order in bulk, the cheaper it becomes for the government. And it's like, okay, neat, but the food sucks for lots of reasons, which we've already talked about. And because that menu is just garbage. And part of what they did when they standardized it, one of the updates, I don't know if it was like that from the very beginning. I think it was. But like when I got back to my last boat, it was the first time I had really adhered to it, because we just kind of like didn't on Jimmy Carter, because I just did whatever I wanted to because it was Jimmy Carter. We made really good food. But on my last boat, I was worried about passing an SMI 4 months after I checked in. So I was adhering to maliciously complying to that menu, because it used to be a red line for failing the inspection if you weren't doing that. And one of the things was every other Sunday, the meal changed, and it wasn't grilled cheese and tomato soup and nuggets or whatever the hell it always was. Right. And so like they just revolt. Like the first time we served that meal, the crew almost mutinied. And I'm like, I didn't write the menu. Leave me alone. Like, I was like, after SMI's over, I'll do whatever you want. But until then, shut up and color. And yeah, I think I don't know if they've updated it and changed it back, but yeah, it's the Navy Standard Core menu sucks. The AFRS sucks. The way in which we govern the entire food service institution in the Navy is just hot garbage. It's because we don't have many culinary professionals in the Navy. Like they're in the enlisted aid community. None of them are in positions at NAVSUP at the highest level to make any kind of real decisions. So what you get is the blind leading the blind, and it's just horrific. Like, and I don't know what you could do to change it. Besides start educating, like sign contracts with some civilian culinary schools and start actually educating people. And it's still going to take a couple of Navy generations to breed out all the incompetents that are like, this is not how you make that. Yeah, it is. You want to see the book? Like, but yeah, because I had a culinary degree and a bunch of training, and I didn't have a culinary degree on my first boat, but I grew up in civilian restaurants. So like, I remember showing up and just having a meltdown because I'm like, you're doing everything wrong. Like nobody here knows how to cook. And then I was instantly the best cook on board because I had real training, and it was just like, oh my God. Like I thought for sure everybody was going to be good at it because they'd been doing it I just had to learn the submarining part of it. Like how do I get this meal out on a submarine while it's underway, and maybe it takes an angle and compress timelines back. Like, cause back then we're on, 6-hour watches. So you have less time to prepare the meal. Blah, blah, blah. But anyway,
you're a hero.
Yeah, man, I feel like this would be a decent place to wrap up. You got any save rounds or alibis? Anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to hit? Or you're just leaving it up to me?
Something that's funny that I don't know if I talked to Ellison about this, but
Uh-huh.
when Riley first met me,
Mm-hmm.
this goes back to the, integrating women in submarines. Riley hated me. Like,
Why?
we were at the pool, right? We were doing a PST, like I was getting ready to go to dive school or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing a PST to requalify, and he's like, oh, like this chick is, just gonna get everything handed to her because
Oh
uh
God.
she's pretty, and like she's gonna get her quals like just blazed, and
Yeah.
and and he didn't know me at the time. Like he was on the Georgia at the time, and I was on the Florida,
Oh, okay.
and so it was just that small experience. Like I remember seeing him and like, oh, like there's that guy, it's
Yeah.
the tall skinny dude that's doing a PST, whatever. Like um so he didn't tell me that, but until like recently, and then come to find out, like he got to know me and then realized like the kind of person I was, and then we became friends, and then um that's all she wrote, like and
Yeah.
now we like kiss on the mouth and stuff, but it's just it's just funny, like I proved Riley wrong, like, and
Yeah.
I love that, like I was able to do that, and I love that
Right.
women can continue to like prove people wrong, that like hey, like this isn't a boys world anymore, or
Mm-hmm.
women can make history too, or diversity is what this is about. Like we need
Yeah.
diversity, in all aspects of the military.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't news to anybody. Like we are
Yeah.
almost fully integrated, like
Well,
in
that's why
all,
history and heritage is like super important to me. And I heard you talking to
yeah.
Ellison about how you just learned who Loretta Walsh was during the Chief season. And I was like,
So
oh
embarrassing.
my God, how
I know.
dare you?
I know.
Loretta Perfectus Walsh.
Just
I,
Walsh,
I, I
yeah.
have a shirt for her on the DGUTS
And
apparel
maybe.
website. Come on,
Oh, really?
man.
Oh, okay. I'll
Yeah,
have to buy
shirts and
that.
hoodies. Check them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was appalled that I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
was like, and she's
Mm-hmm.
from the same area
That
that I'm from in
Yeah,
Pennsylvania.
I heard you say
And I
that,
was
and I
like,
was just like, "Oh my god, she's buried there too. She's buried in her hometown, so like her,
should
you
go.
could visit her tombstone and stuff." What kills me is like that one of my favorite things to do during the Chief season was to tell other people about their heritage, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite things, like I'd encounter a bosun's mate and tell them about like and
Popeye.
BMC Anderson, and like just like
Yeah.
all like I would tell all these people their heritage and just kind of
Yeah.
like give them a hard time, like, how do I know this and you don't know this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like I would troll
That's a good
people
idea.
with CS heritage as well, because they would try to talk smack about like how cooks
Mm-hmm.
like aren't real
Yeah.
like sailors, or and it's like, oh really, okay, tell that to all the like because everybody knows about Dory Miller, but not a lot of people know about
Mm-hmm.
like Leonard Harmon, William Pinckney, the 6 Medal of Honor winners, and all this like
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Wasby, and like the first chief and the first mention of the term chief in relation to rate of rank was
Yep.
a cook. Like, I'll play your
Yep.
silly little games.
Oh,
So
that's
like
awesome. Yeah.
what's funny is like when you get to encounter people that like don't even know their own heritage and they want to talk smack, and then so it's like, oh really, how do I know this and you don't know this? So like that's what I thought was funny, because I was just like, God damn it, Jesse, how do you not know who Loretta Walsh is? Because it's like
So
that's what's
maybe.
funny, is like they've been making history, they've been doing it, and it's like you
Yeah.
just go back and study that kind of stuff, and you get to kind of, because that was something that, well, like cooks have my whole career we've been the underdogs, you know what I mean? And it's like, when I
Mm-hmm.
was an A school instructor, a lot of the students just didn't want to be there. A lot of them got recycled from other A schools that they like didn't do well academically in, or
Yeah.
whatever. Maybe there was a disciplinary issue, and or like their ASVAB score wasn't high enough, so that like it was the
Mm-hmm.
only job they could do or something like that. And so they'd show up to the A school and be like bummed about it. But then I'd get them all gassed up on all those stories, and it's like, oh no, like you're like, you're lucky to be here. It's a privilege to be standing here, because like you're standing effectively in the same place that Dory Miller and Leonard Harmon and William Pinckney did. So like, shut your mouth and be proud of it, and like would educate them on all that heritage. And what I found was like, it worked really well, but also like my staff didn't know half that stuff. I tell the story on the podcast all the time about like they came in one day, said the students were motivated, and there was it was a sum of a bunch of circumstances, but like I just blew my top, like I just lost it, and I was in front of the student population, just like really passionately talking about all of this heritage and how they're lucky to be there and it's the best rate in the Navy and blah blah blah. And when I got done, like I'm doing this, mind you, for the benefit of the students, and when I got done, I had like half a dozen staff members walk up to me and like, I didn't even know that. Like, and I like, you got me gassed up, like all these like 18-year first classes and stuff.
Oh my God.
And so I was just like, oh my God, like, how do you not know this? Cause a lot of it too is like a lot of the CS heritage is tied up in, it's like, it's inseparable from like African-American heritage in the Navy. And most of my staff was African-American and they didn't know any of that stuff. They know who Dory Miller is, end of list, most of the time. And so like Leonard Harmon, William Pinckney, both African-American sailors who have ships named after them, like current present day ships that are serving, like they're out in the blue ocean doing haze gray underway things right now, named after cooks. And so I'm just like, how do you not know this? Like, and so like it would be like a thing that I was already passionate about it, but it became a really strong leadership tool for me because you can get people excited about things like that because you're part of that story now. So like for female sailors, and there's a ton of them, like there's like another one for you to be, and I forget her name, but there's a diver. I just saw a story that got shared by like the Navy History and Heritage Command or something.
Oh yeah. I know you're
there's
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Like a proper diver, like a deep sea diver.
Yep.
And I forget her name.
The first female.
Yeah. Yep. And Loretta Walsh. And there's like lots of stories like that.
Yep. Shannon Kent.
Shannon Kent. And I mean, that's recent enough that like, I mean, good God. Yeah. But there's all kinds of stories like that out there that you can just get these female sailors on submarines all gassed up about. And it's like, and they're not all submarine specific, but it's like you're a female chief, Loretta Walsh, first female chief and first female enlisted sailor in the entire freaking Navy. Like that's a pretty good place to start. And it's like, and it's something that'll get them excited because her story is bananas. Like she died nursing people back to health from influenza while she was busy. You know what I mean? Like her story's bad out. And so it's like, that's just like one amongst many that like, I feel like people should leverage more often because it gets people excited because if you can do it in a way where it's like you're doing what she did, like you're part of that story now. Like this is your story now. It's not her story. It's our story. You know what I mean? Like you're like, and that's what I feel like gets lost on people when they get talked at about naval history is like it's not, this isn't just some abstract thing. Like you're on like the same timeline now. Like you're part of the same story. This, her heritage, her story is your story now. So it's like, this is cool. Like you should be excited about this. And so, it's like, it can be very, very motivating, but also I had to give you shit about not knowing who Loretta Walsh was. So here we are.
So embarrassing.
That's fine. You know, now you can just, your punishment is your homework is to go buy one of my shirts.
Perfect. That's enough. And I'll pay it forward too. I like that idea. I really like that idea of, messing with people about their own heritage and like, kind of schooling them.
It's fun. It's fun.
So, yeah.
You should, you should definitely do that with people, especially like chief heritage is usually
the surface
harder.
Rates, especially.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like if you can, during the chief season, if you're talking like at a corpsman about some corpsman history, oh my God. Like it'll, it's fun. And like, cause like submariners know submarine history. So it's like, wow, why don't you know chief history? Like why don't you know Jacob Wasby was a ship's cook? Served with John Paul Jones on the USS Alfred. Ask me how, you just study like, and it's, there's a lot of really cool stuff out there that, it's fun to troll people with when they don't know that it's like, oh really? Yeah. Like you want to talk about
trolling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But, and you're educating people. Well, you're doing a public service. Yes. It's not even really trolling, is it? I don't know. Like I'm just telling you about your own heritage.
Educating. Yeah.
Just like increasing your level of knowledge. You're welcome.
Yeah.
God. All right, let's wrap this thing up.
Your heritage.
Yeah, I appreciate you. This was fun. Long time coming. We should have done this forever ago, because I've had Riley on a few times, and or at least talked to him, and like it was something that like I've listened to you probably 3 or 4 times on the Midwatch. Shout out to Allison and the homies. But like, yeah, for some reason I just like, I don't know why, I just was like, and for some reason, because of your Facebook profile, I didn't put together that you were the same person, because you're Jessie Barnes, name. But your thing on Facebook is something else. And so I'm like, what is this the same person? Because people would say,
do you know what it is?
No, it's backwards. I'm assuming
my last name backwards.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. But like,
my students can't find me.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Like, I didn't know. I was wondering what the story was, because I was confused, because I was like, is this the same person or not? Like, I don't know. Like, but people would refer to you as Jessie Barnes, and then I saw your Facebook thing, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's not. And I didn't want to get your name wrong either and be that guy.
Just look for Riley and you'll find me.
Yeah.
Wherever Riley is, I am.
I thought he shaved his mustache after pinning. What happened? Can we?
I think
it's horrific.
I think I just.
Do you?
I like
do you approve?
I do.
Okay, then it doesn't matter.
I like it.
It doesn't matter. Then.
Right, you're not the one kissing him on the lips.
I know. Yeah. I thank God, because
it'd be like Velcro, anyways.
I know, right? We'd get tangled up, and then we'd basically be like conjoined twins, and it'd be weird. I'd be obviously the better looking of the two, but that's another story for another time, kids. All right. Yeah.
Well, you do have a beard.
I can't compete with all this gray hair in my beard. Yeah. Thanks for doing this. This was dope. I had fun. Well, we should do it again. You should be on the live stream that I think is going to happen on Thursday.
All right. I hope y'all enjoyed that. We had a good time. It's fun talking to submariners. I feel like I've missed it, like having been away from it for so long. I kind of quickly got isolated from it in a way, and like my way of staying in touch is through the podcast in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, it was really cool to spend some time talking to a submariner, but also like I worked with female officers on submarines. And my last deployment, we did take female enlisted underway, but it was only for a couple months. I think it was a 3-month, it was a patrol on a BN. That's what they call it. And I didn't really get to serve in a properly integrated submarine. Like we had officers, but like there's that very obvious separation between enlisted and officers. Even though we were close, like I consider, especially now that I'm retired, some of those officers my friends, but I never got to do it like for real, And so I was curious, like what the experience has been like, especially when it's not, you're not really showing up to a properly integrated submarine yet. They were still in like the process of doing it. It was still pretty new for them. Like they had female enlisted on board, but it was probably still pretty new when she arrived. So it was cool to kind of dissect that, learn some of the things, some of the fun stories. Just it was very interesting to me personally, being a submariner, that kind of got a glimpse of it at the beginning, and then I was out the door. So I didn't really get to experience it as like a crew member and part of the chief's mess on a fully integrated submarine. And then, she's just a badass. And like, I wanted to talk to her about some of the stuff that comes up, and especially like that social media misadventure I heard about. And it pissed me off. It pissed a lot of people off that, not just know Jessie, but like know, kind of what happened there, where there was like a student that also got flamed on. So it was really gross demonstration of, how just petty and stupid and immature people can be on the internet. And it is what it is, but it pissed me off, pissed a lot of the homies off. So I really did want to talk to her about that too, and just kind of figure out what happened there, and, offer my support, I guess. But yeah, good times had by all. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you want to support us, actually, let me start from where I normally do. Yeah, if you want to reach out to us, good God, radiation, fog, brain, whatever. I don't know. I've been sick and I'm getting over it. I feel pretty good today, but clearly my brain's not fully up around yet. If you need anything from us, as always, hit us up. Don't Give Up the Ship Podcast at gmail.com. You can Facebook message us, Don't Give Up the Ship Podcast, or you can DM us on Instagram, Reddit, or Discord at dgutspodcast. If you want to support us, you can go to dgutspodcast.com. There's a donate button on the website, or you can go to Don't Give Up the Ship Apparel. That's dgutspodcast.com. Get yourself some naval pride and heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. We got shirts, hoodies, shower shoes, drawstring bags, stickers, coins, all the things. Even the podcast gear is on that website, and more to come. I'm actually, as soon as I'm done with what I'm doing here, I'm going to start working on some designs that I either have bouncing around in my mind or half done. Like I've had a few that have been half done for a hot minute. And then probably the best way to support us is patreon.com/dgutspodcast. Become a patron today. There's 5 tiers, lots of cool benefits. Check it out at patreon.com/dgutspodcast. It enables us to do all the things, pay the bills, expand the platform, and we really, really appreciate it. And then if you can't afford to spend any money, just like, share, subscribe, and review on all the platforms for all the things, like podcast platforms, YouTube, and I mean, I'm sure I'll forget something, but just all the things. Share the content, follow us, subscribe on YouTube, all that stuff. If you can't afford to spend any money, your attention and your willingness to try to help organically spread the word definitely helps. So if you can do that and you're willing to, we really, really, really appreciate it. And that's it. That's what I got for you today. Thank you so much for listening, and don't give up the ship. Hey, big shout out to our level 5 patrons, William McIver and Victoria Livingood, to all the other patrons and everyone that supports us. We couldn't do it without you. You're allowing us to expand the platform, pay all these bills, and continue to push out just awesome content for you as much as is humanly possible. And we really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much.